FNaF World Refreshed is a painfully easy game, so I want to change it into becoming as difficult as possible. This sounds like a stupid idea, I know, as the game is so easy that it's been proven you can beat its hardest difficulty while doing absolutely nothing. However, there exists a method of increasing the game's difficulty beyond what's available to be selected normally, as by editing the game files you can create your own difficulty value and turn the game into a total nightmare. My question today is this: is it possible to beat FNaF World Refreshed at difficulty 100? This means that every enemy in the game will not only have 100 times their normal health, but also 100 times their normal damage, which means some bosses will reach absolutely ludicrous stats. To make this challenge even more difficult though, I've also added 2 extra rules. The first being that all insta-kills are banned from being used. This is because many other YouTubers have also attempted similar challenges to this, but they always just resort to cheesing every boss with insta-kills instead of taking out their enormous health normally. For this challenge, I want to have a playthrough that's more focused on skill and knowledge of how the game works rather than previous ones that just rely on luck. Secondly, to win, we not only have to defeat the final boss Scott, but also Chica's magic rainbow, just to make things even worse. This challenge forced me to spend millions of coins to unlock certain characters, downpatch my game to hit some absurd sequence breaks, and even grind until my characters reached completely ridiculous levels. This is the FNaF World Refresh difficulty 100 challenge, and our story begins with us struggling to defeat the easiest enemy in the game, a singular bounce pot. Now, Bouncebot has got to be the biggest joke of an enemy FNaF World Refreshed has to offer. At normal difficulty, Bouncebot only has a measly 30 HP, alongside only 8 to 12 attack damage to his name. At difficulty 100, however, he now has 1,500 HP, not to mention his attack power being boosted to 400 to 800 damage. My game theory was that if I could somehow find a way to defeat a singular lone Bouncebot in battle with my weak level 1 starters, I could grind out level ups and eventually tackle harder bosses. Now, this might be a crazy statement to open the playthrough with, but I think Fredbear has dementia. It may just be from how many times he's had to give out his introductory dialogue to me, as after I watched the opening cutscene and exited out of his starting dialogue, the next time I ran into him on the map, he just repeated himself from before. Fredbear's cognitive decline is probably the least of my worries though, as I'm pretty sure in FNaF World Refresh current version, defeating a singular Bouncebot at difficulty 100 is impossible. Unfortunately, the supplies we have to take him down with at the start are pretty limited. We can't fight any bosses to grab the chips behind them, so our only real options are utilizing a balloon's weak, head start speed, and auto shield chip. Also, since our characters are stuck at level 1, our firepower is pretty pitiful. At most, we can do some damage by stacking poppers on the field, but it isn't enough before we just get overwhelmed and game over. For inspiration to deal with this issue, I looked to Astral Spiff's original FNaF World Difficulty 20 video to see if I could get any advice from the techs of old.
I went to the f***ing effort of researching if Mr. Beast could actually breed with Dream.
Okay, so YouTuber breeding aside, I think I may know of a way to finally take down Bouncebot, and it involves us downpatching our FNaF World Refreshed and playing on the original 1.6 version as opposed to 1.6.1. You see, this original version of Refreshed has a very peculiar design choice compared to the latest version, as the developers decided to connect all the enterable caves into one conjoined area. This means you can use the cave entrance in Choppy's Woods, travel in between cave sections, and be spat out at the cave in Dusting Fields, going around the otherwise mandatory bouncer boss fight entirely. With this sequence break, we now have access into new areas and can grab chips like Auto Cheese, Run Luck, Quick Start Party, and even Auto Mimic. The only problem was when I'd get into an overworld battle where the enemies had 1/3 of a million health, but with my Run Luck chip, I could just Sneakers O'Toole my way out of any situation.
Let him go. We'll never catch him. Not with these moves.
I didn't take my run chip off. I'm still Sneakers O'Toole. With this increase in firepower from my new chips alongside utilizing Bonnie's Gloomsong attack to lower Bouncebot's damage, we were finally able to take him out, finally giving us XP for our party to level up, and finally uncovering a very amusing secret. You see, the difficulty 100 modifier has also done irreparable damage to FNaF World's economy, as Lolbit shop prices have now been economically inflated to be 100 times more expensive expensive. This means that the $5,000 boss train you've always wanted has increased in value to be worth $500,000. As Lolbit's over here like, it costs 500,000 tokens to fire this laser for 12 seconds. But not just that, because even though we've sequence break the game and made it to Lillier Lake early, Dee Dee's fishing hole now costs 1,000 tokens to play, and at most you're only winning 100 tokens out of it. So even if you win the minigame, you'll still end up losing money no matter what! You con woman! You're just stealing my money! There's no way for me to even win your rigged game!
Uh-huh. And tell me, what are you or anyone else even gonna do about it?
Deborah Dee Dee Dewberry, let's have a little chat.
Oh dear.
After Dee Dee f***ed around and found out, I realized there was a silver lining to this economic debacle. Items are now 100 times more expensive, sure, but you also end up with 100 times the XP and 100 times the money after every fight. So even an enemy as weak as a singular bounce pod still won me over 1,000 tokens. Now sometimes these singular bounce pots would be completely non-existent, and I would be fighting literally nothing, but just as long as I'm earning a ton of coins out of it, I'm not too worried. I think it's safe to say we can finally take out basic enemies like mech crabs and prototypes, which means it's finally time to take it up a notch. Let's try and take down some bosses, and finally start making some real progress. The more things change, the more they stay the same is a lesson that reigns true throughout this entire challenge in more ways than one, including in a literal sense. You see, there are a few things not changed when bumping the game up to difficulty 100, such as character encounters not having their health values increased whatsoever. Due to this, I was able to farm out a ton of character unlocks such as Balloon Boy, JJ, the Phantoms, and even Withered Bonnie with his new refreshed move Electrocute. If I had to compare this move to anything, it'd probably be this. You know, the Daco I had sex thumbnail. As it's an electric multi-hitting move that can do some insane damage factoring in all the levels we're getting. You know, come to mention it, I never did actually watch that Daco video. I wonder what he said in it anyways. What's going on, guys? Daco back again. Hope you are fantastic today. I just wanted to make this video to tell you to subscribe to the TheDapperWaffle YouTube channel. He is very funny. Wow, Daco, I was thinking the same thing. If you're enjoying this video so far, it'd mean the world to me if you could give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. The love these stupid videos of mine have gotten recently has truly blown me away, and your support allows me to make more content for you guys to enjoy. Thanks a ton. Anyways, speaking of British people, I also acquired Dee Dee by catching her pearl in the fishing minigame. And even though we may have had trouble in the past, and she's only here because she's contractually obligated to, she now seems overjoyed to be on my team.
I hate you.
She's a work in progress! Speaking of progress, with all these new characters on my team, it made fighting these early game bosses surprisingly possible. Thanks to my Phantom animatronics, I could stack a ton of debuffs on bosses, I could use my healers to revive teammates when their health got low, and I could use characters with multi-hits like Withered Bonnie and Dee Dee to drop these bosses' HP to 0. After a back and forth, I eventually took out Auto Chipper, Totocap, and Bouncer without too much trouble. Really, the only wrench in my plans was when I made it to the 4th area, Lillier Lake, as I abruptly stopped making progress due to the most absurd reason possible. Somehow, in the middle of my FNaF World challenge, I had jury duty. Yeah, that's right. In the middle of recording my FNaF World challenge, I was summoned to serve on a United States jury to go judge someone if they were guilty or not of a crime. For some reason, they entrusted me of all people. Me! The f***ing FNaF World guy! Essentially, day 2 of my FNaF World difficulty 100 video involved me and like 10 other jurors listening into a case inside of a courtroom. And you wanna know what it involved? 2 guys got into a fight because one of them had gotten an extra serving of food, and the other guy got pretty upset by it. So upset, in fact, that he proceeded to rip the other guy's balls off with his bare hands. Once I made it to Black Tomb Yard, I entered the next mandatory boss, the Living Tombstone. He now sports about 250,000 health thanks to difficulty 100. Already more than Scott. This seems like it'd be a monumental task to overcome, but in all honesty, this fight really wasn't that bad. As thanks to my skill and knowledge in the game, I was able to cook up a pretty foolproof strategy. I would start the fight with all my phantom animatronics in order to stack immensely long attack, defense, and speed debuffs to nerf the boss's lethality for the entire fight. From there, I would swap teams over to my more damage-focused one and wail on the boss. And even if a teammate went down, I could use my passive healing to bring them back from thousands of negative health. Turns out that by debuffing a boss's speed, it tremendously lowers the amount of attacks they're dishing out, so we can bring them down without too much trouble. Really, the main problem is just how boring it is to slowly whittle down all these bosses' immense health amounts. Thankfully, I had a playlist I was singing along with while taking these bosses out in order to cure the boredom. I was bumping I Can't Fix You, Hello Neighbor, What's in Your Basement, Jack's Toy. God, I am so f***ing white. Please, never let me hard pivot to a music career for any reason. I mean, you'll probably just hear some bullshit on the mic like, Willy Wonka, Willy Wonka, I'm a bee, your chocolate's here. Okay, so after about an hour straight of just whittling down bosses' HP, I eventually took out both the Living Tombstone and a couple optional Mad Endos, giving me access into the Pinwheel Circus and the next boss, Brow Boy. Now, Brow Boy's got 500,000 HP, so I knew this fight would take me quite a while. When I got into the fight though, there was something pretty funny I noticed due to the difficulty 100 modifier. You see, in FNaF World Refreshed, there's always a time bonus you can achieve depending on how fast you complete a fight that adds bonus XP and money to your victory screen total. By modifying the difficulty, we now have 100 times the regular amount. So when I eventually defeated Brow Boy, I had a time bonus of 49,032 seconds, aka over 13 hours worth. In all honesty though, as funny as this and a lot of the other modifications have turned out to be, I've started to feel a little disappointed after defeating all these bosses so far. Now, I know this may seem a bit surprising for me to say, but here's a question. Have I ever talked about getting any game overs? Truthfully, for every single boss thus far, it hasn't taken me more than a single try to take them down. A far cry from the many failed attempts it took me just to take out a solo bounce pot. Thanks to my skill and knowledge of FNaF World, I was able to clock a strategy involving debuffs and multi-hits that has worked without fail on every single one. I know this may seem like something I should be proud of, but it's only made what could have otherwise been a difficult challenge kinda easy, with the only difference between fights just being how long they take. This is when the more emotive meaning of the quote from earlier really came clear to me. No matter how much I've modified refresh difficulty, it still feels like the same relatively unchallenging game. But I'm sure it'll get harder later, right? I just need to keep making progress with my team, and everything will be fine. But my team can't make any more progress looking like that. I mean, look at them. They're all withered, worn out, British. They can't go out all looking like that. I can't have these chopped looking characters any longer, so I need to buy some skins. In order for my characters to truly look magnifique, I needed to grind out tickets in the Candycade in order to purchase different skins. In order to get enough tickets, I decided to grind out the minigame Find Willy, which just tasks you to find different colored William Aftons. I was finding these guys frame one and was overall super good at finding Willies, probably thanks to all the experience I had seeing one on the Jumbotron back in court. Thanks to my expertise in the field, I eventually got enough tickets to buy all my party members' skins. Probably the most uninteresting ones I got were for the Phantom animatronics, as the only real options for Blinky, Inky, Pinky, and Clyde over here were just their ghost forms. A much more exciting skin I ended up purchasing, however, was the Ignited Bonnie skin over Withered Bonnie, famous for his appearance in the hit indie horror game, Hello Neighbor. We also got a beakless Toy Chica skin, who... Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I'm ever gonna get the chance ever again to reenact this clip, so I've gotta do it now, okay? Here goes. She is such a bad bitch, though! Okay, look, it was either that clip or holy Gothinga. Toy Chica jokes just kinda suck, so there's really no winning no matter what you pick. Moving along, we also got a JJ figurine skin.
That's a little version of me, Waffle. I want you to have it.
Okay. And finally, we have Dee Dee, who seems to have done some Steven Universe fusion bullshit with Nightmare to create her Zor skin, based on her appearance in FNaF Ultimate Custom Night. Being honest, she kinda looks like one of those characters you'd see on one of those FNaF fan game slot video thumbnails. You know, all the ones ones that look literally the exact same? I can imagine it now. It'll have a black background, Zora on the left, and pixel text on the right that says something like, "She steals your balls," and the word balls is written in red so you know it's evil. And with that, we finally have our new character lineup, and can now take out every future boss in style. First, I decided to head into the Pinwheel Funhouse to take on our next boss, Bubba, who has a colossal 1.5 million HP, but 100 times the health also means 100 times the time bonus. So after 20 whole minutes of spamming debuffs and multi-hits, I eventually defeated him and got a time bonus of 62,943 seconds, aka over 17 hours. If that wasn't enough though, I had gotten over 200,000 XP from this fight alone, which boosted my character's levels tremendously, as when I checked my character's stats, I have a level 58 JJ, holy shit. I have a level 65 Toy Chica! At most, you'll only really hit like level 30 on a normal FNaF World playthrough, but thanks to all this XP I'm getting, there's a good chance that my characters will soon reach the otherwise unrealistic and completely absurd level 100. Unfortunately, the next 3 bosses I had to fight, Pork Patch, Swamped, and the Mad Coyote, all had less of a time bonus than Bubba, so I'm not getting as much XP, even though they all have at least 1 million health to shred through, with the Mad Coyote having over 2 million. These fights were gonna take me even longer to beat with less of a reward for doing so, but thankfully I do have one more amusing little anecdote to tide us over in the meantime while these fights happen. Yeah, that's right. There's even more to the Ballbuster story. So, if learning about a guy's balls being ripped off on a random Tuesday wasn't enough, the world ended up foreshadowing my fate before the trial even began. You see, I wasn't able to bring my phone into the courthouse due to them not being allowed, and instead had to bring a book to read for entertainment before the case began. That book just so happened to be the first volume of the Dandadan manga. And it just so happens that the main conflict of the story arises because one of the characters gets his balls stolen. I'll be honest, while I was on that jury panel, I wasn't a broken man because I saw a man's broken balls, but because I knew I'd never be able to write foreshadowing this great in my entire life. Anyways, after over an hour straight of just clicking debuffing moves and multi-hits over and over with my characters, I was eventually able to take down Pork Patch, Swamped, and the Mad Coyote. Almost 5 million HP in total. I know I haven't really gone into much detail about what each of these recent fights entail, but it's because my strategy to win has still stayed the exact same ever since I mentioned it at the start. I have been doing the exact same set of inputs for every single boss, and it's worked every single time. Honestly, I'm a bit upset I was able to come up with a strategy so good so early in the challenge. In a lot of other challenge videos, they're likely to fail as they need their skill and knowledge to grow and improve in order to succeed. But when you already have the necessary skill and knowledge, it can be hard to fail. I've only been telling all these stories and going on these tangents because they're infinitely more enjoyable than watching me fight all these bosses I know I'll always defeat. I mean, where's the fun in succeeding when you know you're always gonna win? FNaF World Refreshed has always felt like it stayed on easy mode to me just from my ability to figure out the most efficient game plan from the very start. The only real problem is just how long it takes to deal with bosses' health, but as it turns out, I never needed to deal a single point of damage in the first place. So, it turns out you can avoid fighting almost every single boss entirely in FNaF World Refreshed due to one very simple glitch I've found. You see, when you get into a boss fight, you can hit escape and close the game, but when you reload the game, it'll spawn you right over top the boss again and you'll be forced to fight it. However, if you exit a boss fight and reopen the game, while it's loading back up, there's a small window of time where you can click where the chips button would be on the overworld on this black screen, and by doing so, it'll bring up the selection menu. If you do this and then close out of it, congratulations! You can use this to remove and avoid almost every single boss fight in the game, which means all the ones I fought previously have been completely pointless.
Chef Pee-Pee? Chef Pee-Pee, please answer me.
This means that after defeating the Mad Coyote and grabbing the key behind him, almost every single boss could be avoided, including all 5 security switch bosses. All I had to do was enter their boss fights and complete the glitch, and I'd be able to activate all 5 buttons behind them without needing to fight them at all. This also goes for security, as even though he's got a staggering 10 million HP thanks to difficulty 100, it was nothing that executing the glitch one more time couldn't solve. Somehow, in all my efforts to make the hardest FNaF World Refresh challenge to date, I only discovered a method to make the game easier than it's ever been. Something with literally 0 chance to fail. I thought that by putting more of a focus on my expertise and knowledge for this challenge, it'd make the game more entertaining and fun. But, as it turns out, the smartest play of all is to never even play at all. Now, to truly bring home the point I want to make here, I feel the need to bring up an experience that parallels how this challenge has felt for me, and how having too much skill can sometimes ruin your enjoyment of what you love. You see, Super Smash Bros. Has always been one of my favorite games to play. I love playing as all the different characters, watching all the tournaments, and due to all the time I've put in, I'd say I've gotten pretty freaking good at it. The problem though is when I would play with my friends. As due to my intricate knowledge about how the game worked and my overall prowess, there was a very significant skill gap, and this caused me to win every single match without any real challenge. I was constantly winning, and even though I should have been proud of my expertise being rewarded, over time my skill felt like a detriment as my expected success made the game immensely boring whenever I played. I mean, where's the fun in winning when you know you're always destined to prevail? My point here is this. Having too much skill in something can sometimes ruin your feeling of accomplishment entirely, as if you're always expecting success and you always get success, it only lessens its impact and destroys your enjoyment. Personally, accomplishments can be much more satisfying when you're less skilled and uncertain of success, because when an unexpected triumph does happen, the moment is absolutely incredible. Nowadays, this is why whenever I play Smash Bros. With my friends, I'll go, "Watch what happens when I use a character I don't know!" and pick someone like, I don't know, Chrom instead of any of my mains. Now, I don't play Chrom, and I low-key forgot he was even a character, but that'll only make it even better if I somehow prevail. In my mind, expected success is unsurprising, but unexpected success is unforgettable. So, after defeating security with the smartest and most successful method I knew how, I decided that for this last fight, I was going to play with an unoptimal method I wasn't sure would be 100% successful, but that would only make it even better if I actually pulled through. I was gonna take down the game's final boss, well known by many.
Yes.
The obvious choice for the job.
He's right.
The name you all know. It starts with an S.
That's me.
Please welcome the final boss for this challenge, Chica's Magic Rainbow!
Surprised?
That doesn't even make fucking sense. Her name starts with a C. With me, Scott.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I got into the Scott fight, saw his 21 million health, realized I had free will, and just decided to insta-kill him instead of playing the same hot dog taco hamburger game of flicking Gloom Balloon Sludge in a rainy day for 5 hours. No, 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 no. You see, the real boss I want to tackle in this challenge is Chica's Magic Rainbow, who's the final boss of the bonus Halloween area. Now, usually you're supposed to get the characters this area provides to be able to shred through her health, but surprisingly, even with no Halloween characters, when I got into the fight, I ended up shredding through a pretty large chunk of her health. This was for 2 reasons. For one, Chica's Magic Rainbow is the one boss to be completely unaffected by her difficulty 100 modifier, so she has no bonus health. But secondly, I had done so much grinding before this that all my characters had reached level 100 or more. Keep in mind, at most in a regular playthrough, characters will only reach about level 30, but I had simply gotten so much XP from difficulty 100 that my characters were capable of dishing out absurdly high damage for what moves they had. It was then when a certain thought came to mind. If I just grinded out even more levels for these characters, it may be possible for me to defeat Chica's Magic Rainbow without any Halloween characters. Sure, it may not be the skillful play to make, as there was nothing stopping me from just getting the Halloween crew, and I wasn't sure if it'd even work, but this only meant that this final hurdle to overcome was absolutely perfect. For me, and my $8 million. Yeah, it turns out that not only was I getting a ton of XP in difficulty 100, I was also getting unfathomably large sums of money for my efforts. And this caused me to buy the rest of the items I was missing in Lolbit's shop. And to my amusement, after spending a grand total of over 2.5 million coins, Lolbit was finally willing to join my crew. Now, I'm not above campaigning for petty bullshit in my videos, so I'm gonna use my one skin suggestion allotted to me per refresh video and ask the devs to please add a skin for Lolbit based on their appearance in Five Nights at Frickbear's 3. If you guys are willing to create entirely new characters based on FNaF Roblox games I've never heard of, I think it's reasonable to ask that a skin be added based on the best FNaF fan game ever made. I mean, come on, these character designs look like absolute eye candy. It'd be a crime to not add these guys in and collaborate in some way. I mean, come on! Even Dako loved it!
It's gonna be hot in here!
I think I know what happens in this video now.
And so, with Lolbit unlocked, it was finally time to start grinding levels to finally take down the rainbow, which involved me spending the next 5 hours straight just defeating Brow Boys over and over. Once it was all said and done, my characters had gone from about level 100 to level 170, with some of them even reaching over 2,000 HP thanks to this. Something practically unreachable normally. And so, with all my grinding done, it was finally time for me to take on Chica's Magic Rainbow. With Scott. I guess he can come along too.
Scott-tastic!
So in a perfect world, this is how the fight begins. We'll open with our Phantoms all spamming Rainy Day to stack defense debuffs, all while Scott uses Mega Virus to destroy all the rainbows that spawn. After this, we'll swap to Team 2 to wail on the rainbow and give it everything we've got. Once she reaches half health, we'll swap back to Team 1 so Scott can fourth wall all the mini rainbows away from us. And once that's done, we can swap back to Team 2 and deal all the remaining damage necessary. Unfortunately, there's one itsy bitsy teeny tiny little problem with this strategy, and it's that
There's so much
Rainbows.
you see, the only issue in this fight is that the rainbow just has oh so many children. These guys do 999 damage to us, which we can usually tank thanks to our health, but when she reaches half health, she just procreates too fast for us to handle it and we'll get swarmed by all the rainbows and die. We can deal with stuff like the boss arena's toxic air draining our health by just out-healing it and defeating her before the 3-minute fight timer ends. But once she reaches half health, there's simply too many mini rainbows for us to deal with and we'll consistently die. Unfortunately, this means we'll need at least one Halloween character solely to remove them off the board when absolutely necessary, so I guess Scott can stay.
Scott-tastic!
Now, I still plan on dealing the final stretch of damage without his help, as I think it'd be infinitely more fun to take her down while being completely flooded with her dumb little children. Now, I won't sugarcoat it, it took many attempts. But I had finally gotten into one truly special attempt going into the final stretch. Now maybe this attempt started with me immediately misclicking the move Poppers on JJ. Real great fucking gameplay on my end, I guess. But JJ would soon atone for this blunder by being the savior this fight needed. You see, when any of these mini rainbows reach my party and attack, they all have a 1 in 4 chance to hit any member, alive or dead. So theoretically, just as long as one character kept getting lucky and avoided every single one, I would be able to win. And it seems like our little figurine friend JJ was doing just that. If JJ could hold on for just a bit longer, we could end this challenge for good and truly get an unforgettable, unexpected victory. This was gonna be close.
JJ! JJ! JJ, oh my god! Oh my god, JJ clung on like 30 HP, dude. Oh my god. Finally!
And just like that, all by herself, JJ had somehow soloed the end of the Chica's Magic Rainbow fight. It may have been a stupid, unskilled plan, and there may have been nothing stopping me from just using Scott at the end or any of the Halloween characters for a guaranteed victory, but that only made this uncertain success even better. And so, after making it through the entire game and even taking on Chica's Magic Rainbow, the FNaF World Refreshed Difficulty 100 challenge was over.
Scott-tastic!
Heh, that's right, Scott. Scott-tastic. You know, I think as YouTube gaming content has gone on over the years, there's been more of a focus on immense skill, planning, and expertise rather than showcasing any faults within ourselves. I think the best example you can point to is probably the Minecraft hardcore community. Before, people were so unskilled at the game that it took entire groups to beat it, and even then their success wasn't guaranteed. But now, it's all about some white guy named Flumbo or Grubbly showcasing how he's the most incredible skilled player who succeeded in doing literally everything on his own because he's just so good, with no chance of him ever failing. But I think with this shift in content to cater more towards skill and planning, we're neglecting all the fun had in doing things in a less skilled and less planned way. Sure, there were a million better ways I could have taken down Chica's magic rainbow, and I didn't even know that JJ could solo her at the end, but that just makes it all the more special and fun she somehow did in spite of my plan's uncertainty. In all honesty, FNaF World Refreshed was never fit to be a fully skill-based game, no matter how hard I tried to change it into one. But now, after everything, I find comfort in knowing that the more things change, the more they stay the same. FNaF World Refreshed will forever be a goofy, unserious game, and because of it, it'll always bring me unforgettable memories forevermore.